What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Camden Chat. Hope everybody's having a great Monday evening, and we got lots of news to talk about today. Hope everybody's having a great start to their week. Good to have you all here. I got a new look. I've got my new glasses, which look like they're kind of off-center, but they're really not. Anyway, good to have everybody in here. We're going to have a great time tonight. We got lots to talk about in Orioles news. Some of it's going to be a little redundant. I did a video on this last week, but we're going to talk a little bit about, obviously, some of the things that have been happening over the last week for the Orioles. It's been just a monumental week in Orioles news for sure. And we're going to get into that a little bit more, get a little bit more in depth talking about that. We're going to break down the schedule. We're now up to May. We're going to look into the schedule a little bit and lots of other stuff. But before we do that, we're going to say hi to the chat. And of course, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping as well. So glad to have everybody here. Let's say hi to the chat. We have Chris is in here. What's up, Chris? Welcome in. Chris Slemmer's in here. There's Paul Angle. There goes the dog. We've also got Jeannie's in here as well. Welcome in, Jeannie. And John Messina. Good to have everybody in here. Always expect light crowds. Our channel is just getting started. So by all means, I'm just glad to have you all here. Good to have you here. So a little bit of housekeeping, if you guys don't mind. Of course, every Monday we're right here with Camden Chat, 6 p.m. Eastern. We talk about all Orioles. We'll talk big baseball news as well, Major League Baseball news. And we do have news today. Big signing in baseball today. Not a free agent signing, an extension. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Big one. We also talk about all Orioles talk and things like that. And once the season starts in spring training, we'll have even more topics to talk about. That's on Mondays at 6. Tuesdays and Wednesday nights, we do Orioles videos. Tuesdays and Wednesday mornings, Oriole videos and Major League Baseball videos. Right now, we're in the middle of our top 25 all-time Orioles players. I think this week we're up to 25, 24, 20, 21, and 20 will drop this week. Number 21 tomorrow, number 20 on Wednesday. So be sure to check them out. I got some other videos coming up that I think are going to be a lot of fun. One of them is going to be my top 10 all-time best players that are not in the Hall of Fame. So I'll be doing that video as well. So be sure to check them out on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights or Wednesday mornings. And of course, every Thursday morning, we do our Baseball Hall of Fame profiles of different players over the years who are in the Hall of Fame. Of course, the ones everybody knows, but then those ones maybe you don't know about. So they're really a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoy them. We're doing them on Thursdays at 9, but soon it's going to be Thursdays and Fridays. I've got a lot of them, a lot of content built up, and I'm going to start making it twice a week so that Monday through Friday, there's always going to be some kind of content for at least the foreseeable future. So I hope you guys enjoy all of that different content coming. And good to have you here. G. Wilson, what up, G? Welcome in. Yeah, I got new glasses. I needed them. My old glasses were, oh my gosh, just so old. And it was time. It was definitely time. We're going to talk about, as we always do, we have our Camden Questions. If you guys have any questions for me that you wanted me to talk about and answer on the show, just send them to camdenquestions@gmail.com. If you have them during the week, the next show, I will answer those questions. We have a couple today to answer. We'll go over them at the end of the show. So again, camdenquestions@gmail.com. If you want to send me any questions, please do. Cynthia, Candy Mom. I am orange. Yes, indeed, I am. Welcome in, Cynthia. Good to have you here. Yeah, lots to talk about for sure. But let's get right into it. Our first topic today that we're going to talk about with the O's is, of course, I think we got to talk about it. Corbin Burnes, of course, he signed. It was last week or over the weekend. Big signing for the Orioles. Trade. I guess I'll say trade. Let me rephrase that. Big trade for the Orioles, as the Orioles have gotten Corbin Burnes, 2021 Cy Young Award winner, really good pitcher. He's got like a sub-3 ERA until last year. He's got a 3.36 lifetime ERA. He's a strikeout guy. He strikes out over 200 batters a year, at least for the last 3 years in a row for sure. Just a really big, what you would call ace. He is a front of the rotation guy. No matter what rotation you put him in, he's going to be a front of the rotation guy. And that's something the Orioles, I think most fans thought desperately needed. I wasn't necessarily on that bandwagon. I thought what they had was good enough. I mean, heck, they won 101 games last year with the rotation they had. My thoughts were they won 101 with what they had. They can do it again. So that was kind of my thought process. I gave the guys a little bit more credit than I think most people did. But that being said, don't get me wrong. To add this guy to the rotation, and we're going to get into the rotation breakdown a little bit, is just that much better. It just really makes this 1 to 5 really no weaknesses. I mean, really, it's not. To have a guy, and we'll get into the rotation, where they all slot, at least for now, with these guys being as young as they are, it's perfect for them to be where they're slotted now. So it really does complete the rotation. But yeah, I think he's just a great fit for the Orioles. The one thing I will say is it's a 1-year deal. He's in the final year of his contract with the Brewers. He is a free agent at the end of the year. What that means long term, I don't know. I hope the Orioles at least make a concerted effort to try and sign him. Scott Boras is his agent. He is not noted as a guy who likes people to sign extensions. He usually is one of these that says, go to free agency, test the market. And I was watching the other day, what was I going to say? I was watching a video of him the other day. He was being interviewed right after he got traded. And the question they brought up was free agency. And he really skirted it. Would he sign an extension with the Orioles? And it was one of those, never say never. But, we all try our best to get to free agency, to be able to have our own pick and choice of where we're going to go. And that might be something that, I would really like to explore. Is kind of what he said. So I think the chances of him signing an extension with the Orioles, at least before he hits free agency, is remote at best. Could the Orioles re-sign him after he hits free agency? Could they still outbid everybody? I think now it's a legitimate possibility that they could do that, but I don't see him signing in season a big extension unless the Orioles absolutely, let me just do this real fast. All right, there we go. I had to do that real fast. Absolutely sign him and just blow him away with some kind of obscene number. Like if the Orioles say, here's a 6-year, $250 million deal. Okay, I think he may do that. Or a 7-year, $250 deal. Okay, maybe he does that. But unless new ownership sees it differently, it's never been in the Orioles, MO to sign players like that. So we shall see. Jeff Condon, welcome in. Good to see you as well. Oh, I'm not worried about that. Cynthia, my whole thing is, I will, at some point, we'll get into aesthetic with the baseball background. To me, it should be more about what you know and the content you're bringing than what it looks like behind me. But we'll get there for sure down the road. For now, we're just getting started. But yes, we do need to get a baseball background. My whole loft is all Orioles, so I could go in there, but this is in here, so that's why I do it in here. But anyway, Corbin Burnes, really big signing for the Orioles. And now I want to talk about what that means to the Orioles rotation, because what this has ultimately done, it's taken Corbin Burnes and slotted him into the number 1 spot, which normally means he'll face the ace of the other team. That's usually what that means. So that takes a guy like a Kyle Bradish, who had the responsibility of being the ace up front. Now he can slot the 2, the next guy to 3, to 4, and 5, and really put them in, at least right now in their careers, in the slots they really probably should be. Just for instance, you look at Kyle Bradish. Bradish has only been in baseball 2 years. He was in 2022 and 2023 with the Orioles. He pitched 117 innings his first season. He pitched 168 last year. Now, last year was his breakout year. He had a 2.83 ERA. He finished 4th in Cy Young voting. He went 12-7. He struck out 168 batters. He walked 44 batters. He had a really good season for the Orioles. But is he a true number 1 right now in his career? No. Could he become a true number 1? Absolutely. He's only, let me see. He's 26. So he's still pretty young. I mean, he's not 22, 23. He's not a baby, but he's 26, so he's still pretty young. So he's coming into his prime. So could he become the ace of the staff? Absolutely could down the road. He absolutely could. So I like the fact that he's slotted at the number 2 spot. From there, you have Grayson Rodriguez. Again, first season last year was with the Orioles. When you look at it, you see an ERA of 4.31. You're thinking to yourself, that's not that good. But his ERA in the second half of the season was under 3. He had like a 2.85 ERA in the second half. So he actually really picked it up in the second half. He pitched 121 innings, which is the most he's ever done. And he will be a strikeout guy. He struck out 127 guys in 121 innings. That's a strikeout an inning, more than a strikeout an inning. So he really did do fantastic. Same with Kyle Bradish, 168 strikeouts, 168 innings. So I really like Grayson Rodriguez being a rookie. He's 24 years old. He's going to be great. I think he's just going to have a great season for the Orioles, and he's slotted at the number 3, so there's no real what I would call pressure of being a number 2 guy. From there, you have number 3. Personally, Chris, I think this guy is number 4 for me. I'm sorry. So Grayson's number 3. To me, number 4 in the rotation has to be John Means. I don't want him 5th. I want him 4th for sure. I want a little bit of breaking it up because you've got 3 righties. I think he becomes your 4th guy as a lefty. And even if they put him in 3 and bumped Grayson down to 4, since this is technically only his second season, to put him right in the middle of 2 righties and two righties, a lefty, and then another 2 righties, I don't necessarily have a problem with that either, Chris. Chris is saying he's his number 4 starter. That's probably where he'll start. But if they slotted him at 3, like if he had a really great spring training and was pitching really well, I think he's better suited at 3. And I think Grayson's better suited for now in the 4 spot. Just my opinion. But again, you look at John Means. John Means was started for the Orioles. He was the opening day. He started 2 years ago. Guy pitched a no-hitter. Really, really good pitcher. I mean, he had an ERA in 2022 of 3.38. 2021, it was 3.62. Last year, in limited time with the Orioles, it was 2.66. This is a really good left-handed pitcher who could be a huge steal for the Orioles. It's funny, we talk about the O's and the pickup of Corbin Burns, but they've been so long without John Means, it almost feels like he's a free agent pickup too, that you're going to slot right into your rotation. But again, that's just my idea. Yeah, I think what you do, Chris, is if they put him in the 3 spot, he's a legitimate 3. First off, he's a legitimate 2, maybe even a 1. He could be. He could. But putting him at 3, I think, really splits it up. 2 righty, righty, left, righty, righty. Just my opinion. That's where I think they should go with this. And then last but not least, of course, you got Dean Kramer. Again, same thing. He's been with the Orioles since 2020. He was 8-7 in 2022 with a 3.23 ERA. Last year, he was 13-5 with a 4.12 ERA. Not great, but again, he didn't start out well, but his second half was really good. He's not a big strikeout guy. He did have 157 strikeouts last year. That was the most easily in his career, was Dean Kramer. Kramer can't be slotted any higher than 5 on this team right now. It's everybody that's ahead of him has more talent. And that's not a knock on Dean Kramer. I think Dean Kramer's a good pitcher, but I think he slots well in the 5th spot. It's a very solid 5, Chris. I would put that 5 almost up against most teams and say we've got an advantage, or at the very least, we're equal to maybe even being better. There are several that are better, but I think this staff is really, really good. And I think we're lucky to have it. And I think the Orioles should be real happy with where they are with this rotation at this point. But we will see what happens and how things shake out. And don't forget, you still have Corbin Burns who can pitch. You still have the guy down in AAA. I can't think of his name. The guy from Baltimore, the other lefty as well. So they have options if, God forbid, somebody gets hurt. Because that's the other thing too. Very seldom do pitchers go through the entire season without missing games. So it's good to have depth as well. And the Orioles do. I mean, you might see Chase McDermott this year. He could get called up if he keeps pitching the way he's been pitching. So there are options for this team when it comes to the rotation. But But again, guys, thank you all for being here. Again, I know it's baseball talk. This is not Disney talk. It's baseball talk. This is our channel at Birdland Network. If you are new here, welcome in. It's good to have you here. Every Monday night, we're right here talking Orioles baseball. Some streams go an hour long. Some streams are a little bit less than an hour, but they all help the channel. So please hit that like button. Give us a thumbs up. It's going to be a big help to us and to get us shared out. We are growing. We've gained several subscribers this week. We're almost up to 150. Would be great if we could hit the 200 mark within the next week. So share us out with your friends. Chris, you're in Baltimore. Share us out. Let your friends know we have the channel. You know, if they want some Orioles content, be sure to have them check us out. Paul Lengo, you are as well. So that would be great if you guys shared us out. We'd appreciate that. The next topic I did want to talk about was I want to talk about the guys that the Orioles gave up to get Corbin Burnes. It's been one of the big hot topics, especially in Milwaukee. Thank you, Jeannie. I appreciate you saying that. Absolutely. Especially in Milwaukee. I know the consensus out there is that a lot of the fans, and I don't know but necessarily about the media, they all feel like they've been fleeced in this deal. You know, they feel like they gave up a Cy Young Award winner, number one guy, for people they don't even know who they are. And you know what? Fair enough. You know, when the Orioles traded for Kyle Bradish and they traded for Dean Kramer and some of these other guys, when they traded for Adam Jones, okay, when you make these trades for these prospects, you don't know. Thanks, Paul. I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for sharing this out. You don't know what you have until you have it. And usually the reward is seen years later. So on both sides, because what will happen is Joey Ortiz, DL Hall, in the 24th pick in the draft, 34th pick in the draft, they get like a compensatory pick, an A plus, what's called a round A compensatory pick or something like that. So they get three guys out of this deal. First off, the DL Hall is probably the prize of the group. I think for most people, what they see it as, you know, solid lefty who throws upper 90s, who could be very dominant. He was dominant as a reliever. Now, whether or not Milwaukee puts him as a starter or not, I think they have eyes on him starting. I think he could do it. He just has to learn command better. If he can really hone in on his command issues, he's going to be a really solid starter for Milwaukee for years to come. I really think he will. Richard, the legend Arjons. What's up, Richard? Welcome in, buddy. Another big Orioles fan. What's up, Richard? Thanks, buddy, for being here. But I think DL Hall is going to be I think he's going to be a fine addition to that team. I think he'll have more success in the bullpen. I think I've read somewhere somebody talked about him possibly being the next Josh Hader. Remember the Orioles traded away Josh Hader from their farm system, and look what he's done. He's been really good in the major leagues now. So I could see that. I definitely could see that. Eric Pressler, what's up, Eric? Welcome. He says, hi. Hey, if Hall can harness control and stay away from injury, he can be a stud, or next often injured Hunter Harvey. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Hunter Harvey was he was a really high draft pick for the Orioles and never worked out. I think he's in the major league somewhere else right now. I know he's on a team. I can't remember who it is, but never got to the potential that they thought. But I think I think his injury issues, I really hope are behind him. I hope he succeeds for Milwaukee. I really do. And then Joey Ortiz is really the big caveat in this deal that I think a lot of Brewers fans are missing. First off, this guy was the number 6 prospect on the Orioles team and probably would be a number 1 prospect on a lot of other teams. Okay, he was behind some really deep guys. And the only reason why he wasn't what I would say the only reason why he wasn't higher up on the Orioles roster last year is because you had Gunnar Henderson, you have Jordan Westberg, and those guys were ahead of him. And now you've got Jackson Holliday. All of these guys are running ahead of him. But it's not because of his talent. It's just because those guys are just superstar studs that are going to get the closer look. I personally think Joey Ortiz is going to be a real hit in Milwaukee. I really do. I think he's going to be highly successful. He's a plus defender. Not a plus defender, a plus defender. This guy is going to win. I think he's going to win Gold Gloves. I really do. And his hitting is going to be adequate. Who he reminds me of is an Omar Vizquel. And maybe even with a little more pop. But that's my correlation is when I think of Omar Vizquel, I think of Joey Ortiz. Plus defender who's got a pretty good bat. I think this guy's bat even could be better than Vizquel's, for what it's worth. Oh, he's closing in Washington. Okay, gotcha. But that's, I think, a good deal from Milwaukee here. Fans aren't going to see it, but I think it's an even better deal for Milwaukee if the Orioles don't keep Burns past this year, unless they go all the way. If the Orioles take Burns leads them, they go to the World Series, they win the World Series, and even if he's gone, then it was worth it because you won. But if they don't, and they get bounced early or don't do well or he doesn't do well, this could be a better deal than people tend to think for Milwaukee. I don't think they're being as fleeced as people think. Now, it's still a great deal for the Orioles because they didn't have to give up any of their top 5 draft picks or their top 5 prospects at all. 1 through 5 still here. But I think it could still be a decent deal for Milwaukee. I just do. I really don't think it's going to be that bad. So we'll see. I want to know from you guys in the chat. Chris, Paul, whoever wants to comment. What do you guys think? What do you think of the deal? Richard's in here. John Messina's in here. Eric's in here. Jeff Condon's in here. What do you guys think of the deal? Just on the surface. You don't even really have to delve into it deep. What do you guys think of the deal? Chris says, I think Hall closes in Milwaukee and they trade Devin Williams and get a haul for him and reboot. They might, Chris. We'll see what they do. I don't know what they're going to do, but we'll see what they decide to do over time. But that might be something they decide. I don't know. I like the idea of DL Hall closing. If you can get a hard left-hander who really throws strikes and can be overpowering, he could be really good. Look at Billy Wagner. That's just one guy, just to name one who was excellent in his career. And he's a lefty. So it's definitely possible. But I want to hear from you guys in the chat. Let me know. What do you think of the deal? Do you think the Orioles made it? Obviously, it's a good deal for the Orioles because they're going for it. They're going for the win. They're going for it. And God bless them. I'm excited, and I'm glad they're going for it. And they're doing all the right things to go for it. But, again, I don't think it's as bad a deal as people think for Milwaukee. Exactly, Paul. He does. He brings a true ace to the rotation to this team. He's going to eat innings. This is a guy that's going to pitch 200 innings. He's going to strike out over 200 batters. He's going to have a 3 to sub-3 ERA. He's going to be your stopper. Every time he goes out there and pitches, he's going to be your stopper. You're going to have a chance to win basically 9 out of 10 times he pitches. Jeff says, I think this is going to be a team to pay attention to. Yeah, I think so, Jeff. The Orioles won 101 games last year. How do you get better than winning 101 games? I got to be honest with you. I think they're now a more complete team this year than they were last year. Yeah, I agree, Eric. It's definitely a good deal for the O's. John says, it looks good now, but you have to see how the season plays out. Exactly. That's the other thing, too. Look, nobody wins on paper. If that's the case, give it to the Dodgers right now. Dodgers are going to win the World Series. End of story. Right? Hey, Charlie and Stacy, the Disney Nerd, welcome in. But that's why you have to play the games. It's never that way. Or the Braves. Give the Braves the pennant. Because when you look at the Braves or the Dodgers, or even the Yankees, Yankees adding Juan Soto and getting back Garrett Cole and Nestor Cortez and Carlos Rodon. If you look at that, geez, season's over. You got to play the games. Got to play. And you just never know. But I think it's still a great deal for the Orioles, and I think it's potentially a good deal for Milwaukee as well. This could be a win-win. It really could. It could be a win-win. And to be honest, I hope it is a win-win. I hope we go out and win the World Series, and I hope DL Hall and Joey Ortiz and that 34th pick in the draft for Milwaukee, I hope they pan out for them and are very successful for what it's worth. So there you go. The next thing, I don't know. I think it's a good deal. But I did want to talk about the schedule for the Orioles, we've been doing this, and we'll do it for the rest of the time here. Victor, welcome in. Victor Falls, welcome in, Victor. Good to have you here, buddy. Nope, no, you're not late. You're here. That's all that matters. Good to have you here, bud. Schedule analysis. So I wanted to go over. We talked last week about April, and each week we'll get April, May, June, July. We'll keep going through the whole season until we get all the way down to September, October. But we talked last week about April, and one of the things I thought about when I looked at the schedule right away was, first off, we're going to be done with Kansas City in April. We're going to go there, and they're going to come here all in April, and then they're done for the season. So we'll be done with Kansas City in April, which I thought was just very interesting that we got 6 games with them right off the bat, boom, boom, and then we're done with them for the year. And then the other thing I really noticed about the April schedule was I said the Orioles could get off to a fast start. I think 8 out of the 10 or 10 out of the 12 teams they face are under 500 last year. So they could really get off to a fast start. We'll see. But as I look at May, May's a little bit of a different story. May's going to be a much harder month. They've got New York at home. Then they got to go to Cincinnati, and Cincinnati is on the rise. That's a good team. Now, they do get the Nationals, but then they got to go to Arizona. We know where they were last year. They got to go to Toronto. They got to go to Seattle. Oh, I'm sorry. Arizona comes here. Toronto comes here. Seattle comes here. And then we go to St. Louis. Now, I know St. Louis had a down season, but I think they're better than that. And then we go to Chicago, the White Sox. That one's okay. And then we have Boston at home to end out the month. And then one game against the Rays at home. So, again, this is a month where I don't think it's a really juggernaut month of, oh, my gosh, we have tons of teams to play. Welcome in, Kelsey. Kelsey Elizabeth. Welcome in. Good to have you here, dear. She's up in that area. But I will say this. It's a little bit harder than April was. I mean, you have to face the Yankees. You got to go to Cincinnati. You have Arizona. Luckily, they have Arizona, Toronto, and Seattle here. And then when they go to St. Louis and Chicago, the White Sox, neither one of those teams were what I would call good last year. They just weren't. But, again, Tampa at the end, this month could be a good month for the Orioles again. They could do really, really well. I still don't think it's as easy as April was. But this month, the more I look at it, could be a better month for them as well. They could get off to a fast start, folks. They really could. They really, really could. April and May could really see the Orioles get off to a nice, fast start in their division. They have a lot of winnable series. And I always say, win the series. You don't have to sweep teams. You don't have to win 10 in a row, 12 in a row. Go 10 in a row in a series and win the series. That's all you need to do. Win 2 out of 3. Keep winning 2 out of 3. You win 2 out of 3, you're playing 667 baseball. That's fantastic. That's what I'm looking for. And again, I think May could be a month where they win most of these series. The harder teams that they have to play, for the most part, are at home, except for the Reds on the road. The rest of them are home games where I think they could do really, really well. 10-2 start in series, Chris. In a series, yes, I agree with you 100%. I'd like to see them start winning some series right off the bat. The first 12 series they face teams. I'd like them to go like 11-3 or 12-2 in those series. I agree 100%. And I think it's very doable. I don't see anything on the schedule in April and May that says, uh-oh, here we go. Last year we had that where there were several teams that they faced, and it was like, oh, Lord, what is this stretch going to be? They had to go to Houston, and then they had to go to Toronto, and then they had to go to New York. And we were like, oh, my, here we go. And they handled it. I think they can do it again in April and May to start. But we'll see. But, yeah, May looks like a month I think they can really, really do well. I really do. I think they're going to do all right. All right, so now I want to get over to, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, I want to get over some questions. Again, some folks sent over baseball questions to camdenquestions@gmail.com. I got two questions, and I got a comment. So thank you to everybody that's been sending those to me. I love seeing them. Send them to me. I'd love to answer them with the next show. You send them during the week. The following show, we're going to talk about them. And that's what we're going to do right now. Again, camdenquestions@gmail.com. Our first question was from Chris. Chris is in the chat. Chris said Chris says they say the old-time players couldn't compete today because it's different. Can you think of 3 players before 1960 that could make it and dominate in the majors today like they once did? And he gave me a few names. I'll tell you right now, all the ones he said are ones I think could absolutely do it. First off, here's what I'll say about baseball. Hey, Jeff Snook, welcome in, buddy. Good to see you. Baseball is so much different than other sports because baseball is more of a motor skills sport. It just is. It just is a motor skills sport, especially on the hitting end of it. You don't have to be a really big guy to do well and be a hitter. Brian Roberts was a small guy. Look at Jose Altuve. These are guys. Brady Anderson wasn't a big guy. You don't have to be big and powerful to jack 25 to 30 home runs in today's game, in any game, really, at any point. It's motor skills to me. That's my opinion. That's why you see guys that aren't the biggest. I mean, Pedro Martinez was, 6 foot at best, soaking, and it's like 180 pounds soaking wet. Look what he did in his career. He's a Hall of Famer. So for me, it's more about motor skills. So if I had to pick 3 guys, yes, I think Babe Ruth could play today. First off, he was 6'2", and he wasn't always fat, as everybody sees. Everybody sees him at the end of his career when he was heavy. He's 6'2". He's a left-handed hitter. He was like using like a 35, 36, 37-ounce bat. The thing was like he was lugging around a log. He could definitely hit in today's game. Are you kidding me? Absolutely he could. I'm not saying there wouldn't be a period of adjustment, but first off, having all the different nutrition they have today, having all the different scouting they have today, being able to look at each and every at bat and saying, oh my God, this guy does this guy does that, being able to analyze and see the different things, being able to have the better travel that they have today. Heck yes, that guy would mash today. I disagree, Jeff. I disagree. Hitters adapt. They all adapt. To tell me that Babe Ruth can't sit there and hit a curveball or hit a slider that's coming in, absolutely he could. It might take him some time to adapt, but I think he absolutely could. I just do. Walter Johnson, another pitcher. Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, absolutely. All those guys could play today. Now, the average player back then, okay, the average player today is much better than the average player back then. But if you're talking superstar for superstar, I'll take them. To tell me Ty Cobb can't hit today, I disagree. Pitching has evolved, but players evolve with it. And I think that they would evolve. I don't think it would be as hard as you think. It might take them a little bit of time. It might take them a half a season to say, oh my God. But once they get it, they got it. And then it's Babe Ruth again. Just my opinion. Again, just my opinion. I forgot to send the question. I'll ask it here. Do you feel that time off from the regular season to the start of the playoffs hurt you last year? No, Victor, I don't. I don't believe in that. I think maybe it might have hurt the hitters a little bit, but I would prefer to have the time off, especially for the pitching. I think the pitchers need the break, time to rest and prepare. What I don't think they should do is, let's say you have a series where it's a 3-game wild card and it's over in the first 2 games. Okay, then the next series should start right away. Don't wait 4 days for the next series to start. If it ends in 2 days, there's a day off, and then the next series starts right away. That's it. End of story. Well, but the other thing too, Jeff, how do we know? And this is the thing. How do we know that they didn't throw 100 miles an hour back then? There were no radar guns. They used to say that Walter Johnson threw so hard that you couldn't even see it coming. They had one guy that said one time, there's a classic story of the guy that steps to the plate. And Walter Johnson's at the plate. And he throws a fastball for strike 1. He throws another one for strike 2. And then the guy starts walking back towards the dugout. And the umpire looks at him and he goes, where are you going? You still got another strike. And the guy goes, you can have it. It's not going to do me any good. I mean, those stories aren't made up for nothing. I mean, these guys We don't know how hard they threw. We don't know what they knew. Imagine if Walter Johnson learned how to throw a splitter, or if he learned how to throw a change, or a legitimate curveball. To say these guys can't learn these things just because they played back then and didn't have it, I don't know. I can't see that. I just can't. I'm sorry. It's not football where you've got 400 pounders and 300 pounders playing today, and basketball. That I get. That I get to an extent. But baseball's different. There's no contact. It's just motor skills. I think they could. I really do. And I like I said, I don't know that they didn't throw 100 miles an hour back then. So we'll see. Again, just my total, my opinion. Or did he throw over 100 for Walter Johnson? We don't know. We don't know what they threw. He may not have. Who knows? Maybe 95 was his highest. I don't know. But we knew he could throw. So there you go. That's my opinion. So anyway, Chris, thank you for the question. I thought it was really, really good. Victor, thank you for the question. I don't think it really hurt them. You've got to be prepared. I just think they should start the next series. If that one's right away. No break for the team that has to, just won the series. They shouldn't get a break. Let's see. Also, Heidi sent in not a question, but Heidi said, I don't think starting players play in the spring as much as they used to. Feels like they don't get enough plate appearances. Bats were again cold to start the season, if I recall, and defense was atrocious. Here's what I'll say about that. I don't think pitchers are going to pitch a ton in spring training. They're going to get in their work. They're going to get their innings. They're going to get the work they need to get done. Don't look at any of the stats. It means nothing. Just get your work in. Hitters, same thing. It's really hard to really pay attention to anything in spring training. Just get your work in. Get your at-bats in. But the other thing I'll say is this, Heidi. They have side sessions. They have split squads. They're getting plenty of at-bats. They really are. I think it's just sometimes it takes longer to gear up for the hitters than it is the pitchers. Maybe. I'd like to hear from anybody in the chat. Let me know what you think as well. 17 in here. Thank you all for being here. This is amazing. So good comment from Heidi. And then my last question was from my buddy, my lumbago isn't acting up. I don't want to say his name because I don't know if he wants to know it. But he did say, hey, love your new channel. Love the passion you have for baseball and the Orioles. I was wondering, what's your favorite baseball movie of all time? He says he's a purist, and it's Bull Durham or Field of Dreams. And then he was also talking about a new movie that just came out called The Hill. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet. I haven't seen it. It's kind of a Rudy movie of baseball. He said, keep up the great work on the channel. So my all-time, I'm actually going to do a video on this, but since he asked the question, I want to make sure I answer it. So I'm sure Chris will know in the chat. Chris Slemmer will know because we're really good friends. My favorite all-time baseball movie is The Natural with Robert Redford, Roy Hobbs. The Natural. It's just, I think it's, to me, the best baseball movie out there. I love the ending of the movie. The ending is just, it's such a great ending. It always makes me cry. But I love that movie. It's my absolute favorite baseball movie is The Natural. The father from Carousel Progress sent in the question. He did. He absolutely did. Yes, Chris, there it is. The Natural. Yes. Absolutely love The Natural. Robert Redford, Glenn Close, Darren McGavin, the dad from A Christmas Story is actually the bad guy in this. But I love it. I love The Natural. I just think it's a great, great movie. And I just think it's fantastic. Who doesn't want to hit a 3-run homer in the bottom of the ninth with 2 strikes to send your team to the World Series? Who doesn't want to do that? It's just great. Ray J, welcome in. And I used to always cry. I used to always think, is he going to make it around the bases? Because, he's bleeding on the side. And you got this young lefty, which is what he was supposed to be coming up. He was going to be the big fireball lefty thrower who was going to break all the records. And just a great movie. I love it. I'll have to go back and watch it soon. But The Natural for me. What does everybody in the chat think? What's your favorite baseball movie? Baseball movie. Victor, I know you saw it. David Ortiz enjoyed it. David Ortiz. That guy. No comment. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of David Ortiz. I'm just not. But let me know in the chat. I want to hear from you guys. What is your favorite baseball movie of all time? The Natural. I got to say, if it wasn't, also, too, I like Bull Durham a lot. I love Field of Dreams a lot. Angels in the Outfield is a really good movie, folks. If you haven't watched Angels in the Outfield, you got to watch it. It's actually really good. Christopher Lloyd's in there. Tony Danza is in there. There's so many stars, people that are stars now that weren't quite stars back then. I think Matthew McConaughey is in there too. There's all kinds of people in there. You gotta check them out. I didn't see 61 yet. I have to look that up. Moneyball. I didn't. Jeff, I actually refuse to watch Moneyball because I don't believe in the system. I mean, what did the A's win with Moneyball? Really, nothing. You know, they had one half of a good season. Did they really ever win anything? But that's a Major League. Yes. John, that's a great one. Major League. Yes. You can't forget about Major League. Absolutely. Paul said I like The Natural, and we actually had to read that in school. Wow. That's really awesome. Yep. Angels in the Outfield. Yeah. A lot of really good movies. Yes. Danny Glover, of course. A League of Their Own. Jeff. Absolutely. Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, Madonna's in there, Rosie O'Donnell. Lori Petty, John Lovitz is in there. He's got a great part in that movie. Yes, that's right. Isn't it called the Curve? What's the movie? Well, with Amy Adams, it's called The Curve, isn't it? I can't remember the name of the movie. But anyway, I think it's called The Curve or something like that. Yes, Melissa, I agree with you. Very, very good movie. Hey, Nomadic Brian, welcome in. Good to have you here. I like musicals, so for me, damn Yankees, take me out to the ball game. Yes, absolutely. Those are great, great movies as well. Very good. Classics. And you're right. If you're looking for something that's musical-wise, right there. Hey, don't forget about Pride of the Yankees as well. Really good movies. Trouble with the Curve. Thank you, Chris. Yes. Really, that's a really good movie. Rookie of the Year's fun. That's a good one, Richard. It's a fun movie. Thank you, Jeff. Yes, Trouble with the Curve. Yep. But yeah, lots of really, really good movies. Again, guys, I'm seeing some new folks in here. Thank you all for being here. Good to have all of you in here. Please consider subscribing to the channel. We are Birdland Network. We're all things Orioles. We're all things baseball for sure. Hey, before we head out, I did want to talk about one Major League Baseball big news that just broke this afternoon. I don't know if any of you guys heard about it, but the Royals, Kansas City Royals and Bobby Witt Jr. agreed to an 11-year deal that could be stretched to 14 years with a team option. So it's 11 up to 14 years for Bobby Witt Jr. Now, Bobby Witt is like, 23 years old, if I'm not mistaken. A real good young player for them. He's got a 4.4 WAR. For his career, it's 5.3. Last year alone, in 2023, he had 30 home runs, 96 RBIs, 49 stolen bases. He hit 276. He had 11 triples, 28 doubles. He had 177 hits, a 319 on-base percentage, OPS of 813. He signed a big, big deal. Big deal. Now, they didn't give out the exact specifics of the money, but from what we're hearing, I'll go over that in a minute. Largest contract in the history for Kansas City. Never given anybody that kind of deal before. And they've never given a 10-year deal of that span. So this one blows away 10 years. We're talking 11 up to 14 years for this deal. Incredible, incredible deal. And then the money on top of it, they're saying right now, and again, it hasn't been confirmed, that you're talking, sources have said the contract is $288.7 million for the 11 years, and it could be as much as $377 million if the options are picked up. Plus, he's getting a $7.7 million signing bonus on top of it. Incredibly, incredibly big money for Bobby Witt, who's had 2 years in the major leagues. And I got to be honest with you, it's the right thing to do. They bought out all of his arbitration seasons because it starts now. This is starting now. They bought out all of his arbitration seasons. It's extremely smart. I'm hoping the Orioles look at this and say, that's what we need to do with Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Kyle Bradish, Jackson Holiday. And get these guys signed to these long-term deals while they're cheap. And I'm telling you, you hear that money, but that money is so much more over the course of them getting better and better and hitting arbitration. Yeah, I can't believe they put up that money either, Chris. I really couldn't. Well, you know what, Eric? Here's what I'll say about that. Here's what I'll say. I still want to see him in the majors. Okay, if you had said Gunnar or Adley, okay, but I still want to see him in the deal. I mean, I still want to see him in the majors. So the 5-year deals may be gone. You know what, Nomadic Brian? They may be. I don't know. I tend to think they'll still hang around. I think the mega stars will be the ones that get the big deals. But you might see somebody like an Austin Hayes or Cedric Mullins. If the Orioles look to extend those guys, they might get a 5-year deal. The fringe players are the ones that are still going to get those 3 to 5 year deals. Anything 7 and above is going to have to be it's going to be the big players. For $300 million, you can run me over with your car for 11 years. No, you can't. It's no good if you can't spend it. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Kansas City, the Kansas City Wits, they can't afford anyone else in the small market. No, but they'll have that player. He's the face of the franchise moving forward. And you know what? Good for them. Yeah, at least it's something for their fans to say, hey, we got Bobby Witt now. Let's see what we can do. And you never know. They are a small market. And you're right. You're right, Jeff. I get it. But you know what? It's good to see them lock down some players. I hope the Orioles do the same thing. I hope this new ownership sees this, runs with it, and says, okay, time for us to lock down some people. That long, it is to an extent, Chris. 14 years is a long time. 11 years is a long time. But you know what? That's the type of thing that takes a player and tells him, okay, I don't need to wait to become a free agent. This is the deal right now. They blew him away. End of story. And that's it. So there you go, guys. That's our Camden chat for Monday, February 5th. We're going to end a little bit early today. Again, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. We got more stuff coming, tons of content. Tomorrow, Orioles top 25 video will air at 9 a.m. Wednesday, same thing. Another top 25 Baltimore Orioles player. Thursday, we'll have another, of course, of our Baseball Hall of Fame profiles. I hope you guys join us for that. Thank you. I appreciate it, G. Wilson. Thank you. Share us out with your friends. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. We're trying to hit 200 subscribers. We're slowly but surely building. Check out some of our former videos we posted out there. Talked a little bit about Corbin Burns. I have a huge number of videos already out there on, well, not huge, but a good number of Hall of Fame profiles already out there on some really good players, and a lot more coming. But anyway, gang, you're funny, Chris. Thank you all for joining me. Keep rooting for the Birds. We're getting closer and closer to spring training. 14th, it all starts. Keep rooting for those O's. We'll talk to you all really soon. Take care of yourselves and each other. Bye, gang. Have a great rest of your day.